Well, hello and welcome again to the Skillwork Forum. As always, I'm Tim, joined with my partner Brett here from Skillwork. We get together on these podcasts and talk about issues, ideas, emerging trends that have to do with staffing industry. We primarily focus on the manufacturing space, but a lot of other related topics as well. And today we're excited to have a special guest with us, a friend of Brett and mine, Mr. Mark Dermott. He is this is a pretty fancy title, an executive advisor and consultant with the Visus Group. Brett and I are both familiar with the Visus Group. We're members of that. It's a great organization where like-minded leaders in this space get together and talk. And Mark leads one of our president's roundtables that we're involved with. So he's been around a while, and you can't tell by how young and debonair he looks there, but he's been around a while. He's a 40-year veteran in the staffing industry, and really his expertise, I would say, is building organizations, building sales teams, sustainable sales growth. He is really what we consider an expert in this space. And today we're going to be talking to him about something that Brett and I are really passionate about too, mission and vision, and what businesses can get wrong pursuing this idea. We're all told, hey, you got to have a mission statement, you got to have a vision, but what does it really mean to execute something like that? So Mark, welcome to the Skillwork Forum.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Excited to be here.
As are we.
Yeah. Hey, Mark, we'll just jump in here. Tim and I know what the Visus Group is, and so do you, but so you want to maybe share a little bit more about what the mission of the Visus Group is, and then if you want, I got to see you do a sales presentation, so I know the sales side of things. So feel free to share a little bit of your background as well, along with a little background on the Visus Group.
Sure. Yeah, appreciate it. Visus Group has been in business for over 25 years, really servicing every vertical in the staffing industry. They really serve as a catalyst to exchange information, and they work with independent staffing firms. And they do that through a couple of different things. First of all, they host in-person and Zoom roundtable discussions throughout the year, and they break the roundtable groups down by size of the organization, companies that have similar size offices, but they have owners, presidents, CFOs, CMOs, CROs that get together in a room or on a call, and they talk about the issues that they're facing. They bring the issues with them to the roundtables, and they're getting peer feedback from others in similar circumstances that may have already dealt with that particular issue, and they walk away with actionable items. It's quite a thing to see. There is a method to the madness on how these are facilitated to make sure you're getting to the root cause of what the issue might be for the individual staffing firm. It's a great organization. I've been part of them for a little over a year now. I'm a facilitator for two of the roundtables. But the other thing they have that also helps out the members are consulting services. They have a number of subject matter experts in pretty much any issue a staffing firm might face that can help out with technical, financial, revenue growth, anything a company might need more one-on-one help than just what they might get out of a roundtable. And I'm one of the consultants also. There's a number of consultants that do that. And the last thing I'll say about Visus is just, it's run by great people. Anybody who gets to know the Kosnicks, Tom and Catherine and Emma, these are people that are really passionate about making a difference for the members that they work with. And the one thing that happens, and I think the two of you probably have seen this, is when you start to come to these roundtables over a period of time, you develop friendships, and the conversations go outside of the events that we have. You can connect with people you've met on the phone or whatever, but between the roundtables and follow up. And I've seen that. So it's really, the people that kind of get familiar with the roundtable concept really enjoy it. Me personally, I've been in the business for most of my working career, going on 40 years. I've run startups to $500 million businesses. I've been in many sectors of staffing. I started in commercial staffing. I got into healthcare at a point in time. I got out of full-time work when I was in the healthcare IT business. And most of the times when I went from one role to the other, something had to get fixed. Something wasn't working. Top line growth wasn't working. Financials weren't where they wanted to be. A lot of it was just the top line. There weren't people in the organization that knew how to sell. I was hired one time to take over about an $80 million healthcare business. And they had all the clinical help they could need, but they had a bunch of branch managers that had no background on making sales calls. So my job was to work on that. When you've walked into various situations and had to identify what the issues were that needed addressing, develop a skill set that can be transferable to a number of circumstances. So there's a lot of things I'm not a subject matter expert in. I've worked in staffing sectors that I needed clinical expertise to make up for what I didn't have, how to hire people to make up for your deficiencies. When back to Visus, when I met Tom and I sat through one of the roundtables, I found the conversations very intriguing because we'd have healthcare person in the room, somebody who had a specialty in engineering, then we had light industrial, but they all had similar issues. And I felt like my background fit well into what they were doing. So when I work with companies outside of Visus, I have my own advisory business. I'm working with a variety of things, whether it's building top line, whether it might be something service delivery wise. But I got out of full-time work in 22 and I started my advisory work, and that's pretty much what I'm doing now.
That's great. No, we appreciate that background, and we would concur. We've gotten a lot in the short time that we've been part of Visus. We've gotten a lot out of it and the relationships. I do think that's really key. So yeah, I think today we're going to jump into mission and
yeah, we're going to talk today about mission and vision. It's obviously common to every organization, regardless of size, and kind of pick your brain a little bit about that. And first off, people I always hear these things lumped together, Mark, mission and vision, mission, vision. They'll throw mission, vision, purpose in there a lot of times. Between those two, is there a difference? Is there a distinct difference between the two? We have a quote here that says, vision is the picture and mission is the roadmap to get there. Does that capture it, or what are your thoughts on mission and vision?
I concur. I mean, they serve somewhat similar interests, but they are different. I made some notes in preparation for this discussion. I see vision as it describes what the company wants to achieve in the future. And I see mission more for kind of a declaration of that outlines why the company exists, what the company does, who it serves. Mission state or vision statement I see is a little bit more where you want to be in the future. Mission is where you want to be now. So there's some similarities conceptually, but I think there are some differences on what the two are supposed to accomplish.
It's interesting. When Brett and I got our company going, Skillwork, this is not about Skillwork, but it's about these ideas. I would say that our mission, vision, and long-term goals were established before we ever really did anything tangible beyond that. It's always been, we started with that. So I'm not sure that's the way it should be done or that other successful people have done it, but that's what we did.
Yeah, it was clear to us, obviously. We're unabashed about our faith, and so for us, our vision and our mission, we felt was very inspired, and so it became clear, it became easy to write. Now, it's harder to fulfill it some days. But
yeah, the execution side now. That wasn't the details.
So yeah, what do you think, Mark? Like you said, every leadership book or every org has it, but how important do you think it is in the companies that you've been involved in, and maybe even more so now when you have a lot of this younger generation, they want to be part of something? How important do you think having a mission and a vision is?
I think it's foundation of the company. I think it's where you start to build your organization and the guiding principles around how you make decisions. I mean, if you don't have it, I don't know how you could have a philosophy in your organization that kind of guides you through the decisions you make, people you might hire, and your long-term goals. To me, it's where you have to start to understand who you want to be and who you're serving. It's for internally, It guides strategic thinking. It defines performance standards. It inspires employees and provides shared goals. It can make a difference in how you're perceived in the marketplace. If you've got the right mission and vision, it fosters better communication. I think certain organizations do a better job with it than others, but most companies that are performing to any level at all have to have something to start off with. So I think it's critical.
Yeah, in our business, and you guys are acutely aware of this, Mark, our business meaning the broader staffing world, there's a lot of headwinds right now that the economy is being acutely felt. And I'm wondering if there's any correlation between high-performing companies, despite headwinds, those that will thrive, those that won't, between the correlation between having a foundational, this is our bedrock where we stand, versus those that basically have just been able to ride the wave. You think there's a distinct correlation there?
Absolutely. I think vision and mission statements align a company around a common set of goals. I think if you've got the right vision and mission statement, top performers perform better. Non-performers have a harder time probably staying there because it's a more high-performing mentality, is what I've seen. You develop a reputation in the marketplace where high performers want to be. So I used to work for a guy that said, great organizations have higher expectations of their employees, and the employees want it that way. And that starts with creating a mission and vision statement and a methodology on how you operate that expects more out of their employees, and people that work there want it that way. So I think it's absolutely creates high-performing organizations and employees.
Yeah, no, I think it's good. I'll ask you kind of a two-part question. I'm curious, you mentioned in your intro there, that obviously you were brought into a variety of different companies to help get the revenue going, this, that, or whatever. And so I'm curious, in a lot of those cases, the companies that were maybe off track a little bit, did you need to get them reset on a mission, vision? Was it just they were just throwing darts at the wall or just chasing anything they could, but there really wasn't any key to that or any
kind of alignment? There's a lack of alignment.
Yeah. In some cases it was where there was an alignment where you had to reinforce that. In many cases it was just more tactical, where the right activities weren't being done to get the results that you were looking for. If there are no sales calls made, or if the sales calls aren't the right kind of sales and people are saying the wrong things, your revenue is not going to go anywhere. And there was no organization to what kind of calls they were making. But when I walked into a situation, the first thing I always did was analyze the talent and who's doing what, and what are they doing, and what are their attitudes. And I focused on making sure you had the right people in the right positions, and that there was a team mentality, and that you tried to create a culture where you did bring in, that weeded out people that just didn't want to be in a high performing organization and attract more that did. A little bit situational, but I saw some that it was a alignment issue, and others that just activity wasn't being done.
I appreciate that. I think it's pretty clear that obviously the founders initially, or the C-suite leadership, they've got to set the mission and the vision of the company. But Tim and I have always talked about, in order for us to grow, we've got to push that down into the organization. If Tim and I are the only two that know what that is, it becomes a pretty small team, heavy burden to get anywhere. How can leadership at an organization make sure that your mission, your vision kind of trickles down into all levels of the organization?
It does start with the two of you, as you said. I mean, this is a perfect example. You have to lead by example. One of the pitfalls I see is when people have a mission or vision statement and it's not lived at the very top ranks of the organization. It needs to be discussed continuously. I've worked for an organization, a multi-billion-dollar organization, that our divisional president would start off every meeting reviewing the mission statement, and asked for people to give examples of what they did to abide by the mission statement. So you acknowledge those that you see doing things that are good based on the mission statement, but it's got to be part of the fabric of the organization. Obviously, when you create this, I think you can't get 100% buy-in from everybody, but you need the stakeholders to help you, so you've got more buy-in than just the two of you to get feedback and all of that. But it's just got to be part of the ongoing discussion, in addition to financial results or anything tactical. This is something that has to be discussed so people know it's not going away. It's going to be a discussion point, and they're held accountable to it.
Is the skilled labor shortage hurting your company's bottom line? Skillwork is the premier staffing agency focusing exclusively on skilled labor. Our team of highly skilled workers augments your existing teams for elevated impact and decreased downtime. Partnering with hundreds of facilities in more than 30 states, we deploy our traveling industrial technicians to work for you on a contract basis. Our philosophy is simple: to honor God in all we do, bring respect back to the skilled trades, and positively impact those around us. For more information on how Skillwork can deliver the top labor talent you need, visit skillwork.com or call us at 402-447-7058. Call us today to see how Skillwork can work for you.
Yeah, that's really good, Mark, and it's a good reminder for us and for all leaders out there. And I would say at our company this year particularly, we've been on a, no pun intended, but we've been on a mission to really kind of hold our organization accountable to those things. And you start thinking about accountability, there's got to be some measure. What are you measuring against? Some benchmark. So start thinking about mission and vision. Is it a measurable thing, or is it more an aspirational? How do you hold employees accountable to something that can be nebulous like a mission and vision?
Man, that's a great question, Tim. From my perspective, it has to be more memorable than measurable. If I look at mission statements that I've been a part of, there wasn't clear cut. It's not like a quota or a performance standard where you want to. I think people have to understand how you will hold them accountable. It has to be something that is trained to new employees on exactly what your mission and vision is. And they have to have examples of what are examples of abiding by the vision and mission statement. I think it's in your communication you have to train people how to manage to it, but it is, to me, it's not as black and white, but there's certainly ways of identifying behaviors that are ethics and morals and the things that these tools are meant to impact. This is acceptable based on our mission and vision. These are unacceptable. And then you manage to those expectations.
I like that. Memorable more than measurable.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
So,
I got a feeling that you might hear that one again.
Yeah. Probably. So yeah, we'll steal that. In that though, Mark, in your experience, naturally you're always going to have people at some people that really embrace it, they're all in on the mission. You have others that are somewhere in the middle, and then you have some that they're just not there, that they're not responding the way you would want. And so in your experience, how have you handled that from a standpoint of trying to coach people up? And in your assessment, how often is that successful, or is it just a reality that not everybody can be on the team?
To me, it's no different than any other expectation you have of an employee if they're not abiding by it. In fact, it could be more serious if it's a behavioral type of thing and they're hurting the company. I always break it down this way: for people to have a habit. This is a Stephen Covey thing that I've learned, is that for people to have certain habits, they have to know what to do, they have to know how to do it, and they have to want to do it. 2 out of the 3 are training issues. People have to know what are the vision and mission statements. They have to know how to use those in their day-to-day activities. What are examples of supporting it and examples that aren't supporting it? Then they have to want to do it. So if you feel you've done your part of the first two, making people aware of it, giving them examples of how to live it, and they're not doing it, the attitude part of it is a little bit more challenging. But I would, depending on the significance of it, I would treat it no different than if they're not performing in other areas, because, and some could argue, it's more critical to get them turned around or to have to make the decision to move them out, because they could be hurting your organization in some pretty bad ways. But I would have the amount of patience to deal with it based on what I think I have to do to turn them around or make another move. I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's how I look at it.
Yeah, no, it does. I think it's
Try to get to the root cause of why they're not supporting it the way you see it. I don't make assumptions. I just look into what is it that I might not have done and do that before I'm moving, because we all know how hard it is to find good people.
Yeah, we took our team through a book last year, maybe I'll call it 18 months ago, called Integrity by Dr. Henry Cloud. It's about integrity. Really was pivotal, I think, to a lot of our folks, and the idea and the concept in there he brings about is the wake that you form as a result of moving through an organization, through life, like a boat moving through the water. And one of the key examples that stuck with me is that a really high-performing guy in a large organization, I mean, at the C-suite level, but the fact that his lack of alignment with the mission, and culture, really the culture, I'd say, but because he performed so well, the senior executive overlooked it. And the impact that it had, the negative impact it had downrange was huge. So would you say that's one of the biggest pitfalls of mission and vision, is you allow people to not get on board because for the sake of what's hard to find them, or they're good performers tactically? I don't know. That seems like a pitfall to me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I see there's others, but just in general, individual performers can get a pass on how they might be toxic to the rest of the team because of what they do individually. And it's been my experience, you're going to have to face that sooner or later. It's not good for an organization. Leadership can lose credibility if they don't act on people that are high performers but not good team members. And I've had to deal with it myself, and they're not easy decisions to make. But I think to have the culture and to have the credibility for the organization, you can't ignore those things. Yeah. And you have to, if you've got somebody you're going to have to make a decision on, you've got to take the appropriate action to protect yourself about the accounts they have. But you can't, whatever they're contributing in their individual performance is probably costing you more, and how they're impacting possibly others' performance, and also the culture and credibility that you're trying to build yourself.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, we've all seen it. We've probably all been part of organizations that put a mission statement or something on the wall, but it's pretty clear there's not a lot. That's about the only time that anybody reads it, is if they happen to look at the wall.
Right.
And you're an employee indoctrination, and then this is crucial. And then
exactly. Yeah, got that wall. But there's that extreme. But then there's the other. I think probably the side that a lot of us struggle with is what is right for you. You mentioned a minute ago that you were at a company that, I don't remember who it was in the organization, that at the beginning of every meeting, they read the mission statement and stuff. So where do you see as that? Is it typically we don't talk about it enough? Can you talk about it enough, to that, and to make sure that it's not just, like I said, a saying on a wall versus something you live out?
Some of the more common pitfalls and why they don't stick. One of the things I mentioned before was already poor executive involvement. It is nothing more than something on the wall, and you just don't see it reinforced or supported by the executive team. There's not enough involvement with enough stakeholders before it's instituted, where it's just a given. And if you want more buy-in just to get more feedback, it doesn't mean you have to take the feedback, but it is the sort of thing where if you've got trusted people in your organization that you trust their feedback and value it, it would be good to get their feedback before you settle on a mission or a vision. I'm not suggesting 100% buy-in, but enough. And then it's just being properly managed and recognized on an ongoing basis. It doesn't have to be. I mentioned this particular manager, and by the way, they started doing this after a year or so. So it wasn't like it was right off the bat. So it's never too late to start some of these things as far as mentioning mission and vision and asking for examples in meetings. And the name of the company was Leidos. It's a $20 billion company out of DC.
I'm familiar with that company.
And we had a great president of our division, and he started doing this because he just wanted to live more in that area and give examples. It to me is it's the people that work with you have to see that this is as important as anything else they do, and if not more important, because it has to do with your reputation, how you treat people, how you treat clients, and especially in your particular case, when you're faith-based, you want people to realize this is incredibly important to you. So what does that mean on a day-to-day basis? This is what you're saying, but but it's just got to be enough of a conversation where it's not a one and done, or it's not up on the wall. So you have to pick where you think it's appropriate, but say it enough that your team will know that it's just the fabric of your organization.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good way to wrap that up. And for us, we do think the standard is the expectation that we hold ourselves to is higher, because we don't like to say that we're a faith-based organization, so you should do business with us. We like to prove it by how we do our business and run our business in such a way that honors God. But for us, that's a high standard, that we have to do that because we feel like we're being held accountable to that by even a measure beyond our customers or our employees. So that's really important to us. I think we've had a great conversation here. I'm looking at the time. We've probably used up a little bit more time of yours than you're gracious enough to give us, Mark. But I think it's a good way to finalize this, Brett, unless you had any other further questions or something you want.
It's been great. I think, Mark, your input, which we expected. So Mark, or Tim and I knew. So, but yeah, you've dropped some great nuggets in there, and
for sure,
it'd be good. But yeah, we really appreciate your time today.
Yeah, really appreciate you helping us delve into this. Not to put too fine a point on it, but I was thinking about a verse from the book of Proverbs, book of wisdom, and it says there, so a lot of wisdom in that book, but it says, where there is no vision, the people are unrestrained. In other words, they have no focus. But it says, conversely, happy and blessed are those that maintain the law or stay in track with the vision. So there's a lot of wisdom in having a vision and purpose. It gives people focus and direction. So it's crucial to keep alignment. So Mark, I really appreciate it. We appreciate your friendship, your insights, and we look forward to continued dialogue with you and collaboration as we move forward with Visus Group. And by the way, those that may be listening that are in the staffing world out there that are interested in this group, we want to point you to the Visus Group to look into it. It's been a tremendous blessing and investment that we've made. Look forward to that. Others who are dialing in or listening to the Skill Work Forum that are just looking for insights about running your business, or maybe you're in the skilled trades area, manufacturing area, and you're struggling right now. Yes, beyond things like mission and vision, you're trying to get your production done. You're more tactical. If we in any way can help you at all with that, we'd love for you to reach out. If we can help you, we'll let you know. We'll point you in the right direction. So check us up at skillwork.com and go to our website. We appreciate you joining us here on the Skill Work Forum. And also want to encourage those that watch this to go out there and go to where you get your podcast, either Spotify or YouTube, wherever, and just hit subscribe or like. It really helps us understand. And if you have any good ideas about topics we can discuss, we'd love to do that as well. So next time, Mark, thank you. Brett, thank you. Appreciate it. Have a blessed day.
This is Brett Elliott, CEO and co-founder at Skillwork. Prior to starting Skillwork, I spent over 30 years in the food manufacturing space. From literally starting out cleaning the restrooms to becoming the maintenance manager, then the plant manager, to eventually becoming the president and owner, I've seen the manufacturing world from many perspectives. And like many of you, I've seen firsthand the growing need for higher skilled workers, while at the same time experiencing the shortage of this skilled talent. I started Skillwork to address that need. I knew the headhunter and the local temp agency models were not the solution. If you're experiencing the same shortage of talent at your facility, we would love to connect you with our team. Give us a call at 402-447-7058 or visit us online at skillwork.com.